Care to chat? Hello and welcome again to the Northern Ireland Social Care Council's popular podcast, Care to Chat. I'm Wendy Austin, and it's been my pleasure to host these podcasts, now in their fourth series, hearing the stories of social workers, of social care practitioners and those who are their service users, and to hear of the work itself from domiciliary care to probation, early years to end of life, and the constant improvements and adjustments as change is implemented in health and social care here. It's been a real education for me, and I hope an interesting listen and a useful tool for you. Social care. It's for older folks, isn't it? Well, no, it also has the ability to be transformative in the lives of children and young people. In this episode, we're looking at that inside social care in children's services, where it ensures that they're safe, healthy and supported, be that through providing additional support or personal care. So who are the people working in this area alongside other professionals, including often social workers? And how has children's social care been changing? I think we might find out a great deal. So let's hear from our panellists today. Paul Murtaugh, Social Work Manager. Shirley McCaffrey is from the Learning and Development Team at the Southern Health and Social Care Trust. Stevie Gibson's a support worker with Positive Futures at the Arches Family Support Service in Bangor. And Ewan McNeil is a social care practitioner with Children's Services in the Southern Health and Social Care Trust. So first of all, Shirley, what is children's social care? I mean, I was one of those who thought that it was mostly for older people.
It is a vast and varied range of services and roles that staff take up in across the trusts and other organisations as well. So, for example, within the Southern Trust, we would have social care staff working in our gateway services. That's our first point of contact with lots of families. They're supporting the social workers to gather multidisciplinary information, information from schools and GPs about children that have been referred in. They might also work with families where there's been concerns and worries around domestic abuse, so maybe doing a wee bit of educative work. Then you might have within the likes of our family intervention teams and our children and care teams, they might be supporting, facilitating children to have family time with their parents where they're living outside of their parents' care, or they can be doing really important pieces of educative work and really that kind of pushing forward those interventions and helping families on the process of change so that they're better able to look after and care for their kids. And then you might have within the likes of our children's residential services, lots of the staff there traditionally have been social care staff. And they're working alongside the qualified practitioners to really build those helpful therapeutic relationships with the young people and help them to recover from their own traumas and then get ready to move out into their own independent lives. And along that trajectory, there are so many other services that sit alongside where social care workers are the engine that are really driving things forward and really making the difference and building those relationships to help promote good outcomes for children.
Is part of the reason, Paul, why we're not aware of the degree to which social care works in children's services, that it's maybe those other people with whom they are working that Shirley mentioned, their other professionals and so on, they're the ones that you expect, and maybe you don't notice that there are so many social care people involved as well?
Yeah, I think maybe from an outsider's perspective, that may be how it looks, because when you think of children's social care, very often it's social workers that you would be thinking about, or maybe somebody from the nursing profession or OTs and those type of people. But I think for many families that are involved in being supported by children's social care, they have a real better understanding of what that's like, because a lot of their engagement, a lot of the actual practical support and a lot of the relationships that they're building with professionals will be social care workers rather than some of those other professionals that might be more well known.
So say, for instance, for something like, kind of personal assistance that they might need, what sort of thing are we talking about?
Well, I think as Shirley has said, it is so broad. When you think of children's social care, it essentially is support services for children and families who are experiencing difficulties. So that can be children with disabilities, that can be children maybe with mental health issues, or it can be just families experiencing some kind of struggle, some kind of crisis that they are struggling to get through on their own. It's that kind of sense of it takes a village to raise a child, and sometimes families maybe do not have the supports around them that they maybe need to get them through a particular crisis that they're facing or a particular hardship. And I suppose children's social care services are there to try and create that village around the child if it's not there organically, and to try and make sure that there's a good, strong network around a family to help them navigate a difficult time.
So Ian and Stevie, you guys are kind of at the coal face, if I could put it like that. You know, you're both social care practitioners working in social care with children and young people. Tell us a bit about the work that you're involved in, Stevie.
I suppose when you guys are saying that, I was going to put myself as just a little part of that parcel that maybe families get. So whilst I primarily work with young children with learning difficulties, I do see myself as a bigger part of supporting a family. So, but from a day-to-day work, that involves me picking up the kids after school. We call it our after schools club. Some of the kids we'll do some work by ourselves, and some of the kids we'll do with some sort of group work. But it's their time. The way I didn't think I'd make a difference in these kids' lives, to be quite honest, when I started this a couple of years ago. But when you see those kids bouncing out the front door of the school, taking the door off the hinges to get out for that 2 hours, it has been life-changing for me to see just how much an impact you can make in those kids. I didn't think I'd make an impact on their families. I know that we do now as a group of employees that are helping. That 2 hours is really, really precious. So we do lots of fun things together. We try and do lots of sport. Try new things, important as well. We were up the driving range in Blackwood last Tuesday. Something so different. You don't think these kids are going to have some difficulties. These kids will never do this. That'd surprise you. We had great fun in the driving range. But then offering that level of support as well, I feel like I've become... I'm not a support worker to them. I'm somebody... They see Stevie every week. They can unburden a lot of their little troubles on me. It's things that I wouldn't have thought about. This war. If you're going on holiday, these kids are worried about stepping on board an aeroplane, things like that. And that's maybe things they'll talk to me about that I can offer some degree of support. So getting out there primarily with the kids, but I now know that just those 2 hours, maybe 3 hours a week, but is a great support to the family as well. And it's great fun. It really is. It's great fun. It's taught me a lot.
Ewan, what about you? What about the work that you're involved in?
Yeah, so I'm in the Children in Care team within the Southern Trust. I was previously in the Family Intervention team. Stevie, you're in Children's with Disabilities.
Yes.
The team of that. It's probably quite similar, as you were saying just before the podcast, in the way that as a social work assistant, we would tend to be a lot more front-facing, I would nearly find, than the social workers themselves. And probably, for lack of a better term, we would nearly be doing we would nearly be carrying out the nice part of the job, if you like, in terms of facilitating family time and doing one-to-one therapeutic work with the young people, and sometimes with parents and stuff as well. And Stevie touched a wee bit on it there as well. I suppose if you brought in the trauma theory and stuff, when it comes to children who are experiencing those ACEs.
Can you tell me what those are?
Sort of an adverse childhood experience, so trauma because of things they've experienced in their lives. One or a couple, Shirley would definitely know about this because she's the training expert, but one of the buffers to that would be that trusted adult, and having that strong relationship with an adult who isn't the parent. And I find that a lot of the time the contact workers and the social work assistants can fulfill that role quite well. So, and that's part of my job that I love, which is that's the part that I love the most, is the rapport and the relationship building side of it, with young people and also with the parents as well, because it's important to say that I have great relationships with the parents, and I know a lot of the other staff do as well, and that's so important. So,
Changed times, isn't it? I mean, we did a podcast recently which was looking back quite a long way to a family who had a disabled child. Now we're talking 60 years ago here. And there was absolutely no help for that mother at that stage at all. She gave up her job and looked after the child, and that was it. So it's very different now, Paul, isn't it? And I mean, it's changing and has grown very much in recent years, hasn't it? Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to that bit that the only constant is change, and I think social care has always been changing and developing, but probably since COVID, I think there has been a wee bit more of a willingness to embrace new ideas and to try things a wee bit differently. I think COVID forced us all out of our comfort zone, and I think since COVID there has been an acceleration in the use of social care staff certainly within the statutory system of which I'm involved. Some of it is about timing as well. The Ray Jones review focused very heavily on the need for early support, and the social care staff fill that space really well. It is about creating trust in relationships with families. Post-COVID and with the Ray Jones review, there has been a renewed interest in trying to ensure that those early help services are there and that they're properly funded.
It's interesting, Shirley, I suppose if you're listening to the news or reading your paper or whatever, most of what we read and hear about social care workforce is that there aren't enough of them, that they're not well enough paid, and that, you might lose your care package. Mm-hmm. But there is nothing that points to the fact that perhaps, there are areas where there is a growing, not just growing demand, but a growing supply of people who are moving into different things. And that never really comes across, sure it doesn't?
No, I think you're right. And I think, and it's not in any way to undermine the impact for families when they are feeling the pressures and the deficits of services. But I think it's recognising as well that, there's lots of people come into the social care workforce intentionally to work with children and families. They may be coming from a childcare background, so they've got their level 3 childcare learning and development, or maybe they've done health and social care qualification. Sometimes I find the staff that are coming in, they maybe have had a teaching qualification, or they're stepping away from a career and wanting just to take a different path. So people can come into children's services in such a wide variety of roles, and there is lots of training and support there to help people develop and build their skills. And recognising, I'm thinking of my lovely colleague here beside me, Ewan, I've got to know a bit through the training that I've been delivering, and that I know Ewan has lots of skills that are not in any shape or form connected to his job role and coming into children's services, but yet he's able to bring those skills and really add richness and experience into children's and young people's lives through that.
He's blushing now.
I had to get him back for the nice thing he said about me in the training, so there you go. But I think it's recognising that we're now at a situation where there is a career pathway coming through the social care workforce. So some people come into social care and ultimately they want to acquire the experience and skills to let them move into social work. And I think that's a great resource that we have been really looking to tap into in the Southern Trust through the OU route and our kind of grow our own social work workforce. But it's also recognising that there are people who want to stay in social care for a range of different reasons, but they bring such wealth of experience and skills and qualities that are wonderful and need to be developed and cherished and used as well. So we are looking now that we are starting to have a career pathway within social care that people can move into different posts and move into different roles, developing their skills and knowledge, and not having to feel that they have to go down a social work route.
What was it that made you want to come into the social care area, Stevie?
I don't know if I've got time for this one, but this is my second career. I am not by any means a social worker or come from a background. I finished my 30 years in the police 2 years ago, and I had absolutely no idea I was going to go down this route. Saw an advert for Positive Futures and didn't know where it was going to take me. I haven't got that third level education and wasn't sure whether I'd be able to, but I suppose I was in a neighbourhood role within the area, and I got to work with a lot of groups and saw all that additional support. There is a lot of support out there provided by the voluntary sector and the trust, and it just looked like such good fun. To be quite honest, it looked like great fun. So I was nervous at the start whether it would be for me and whether I would have that training background. But you said, so from all the 30 years I was in the police, Wendy, nobody ever mentioned a childhood, what was the adverse childhood experience. We also took on, you think you mentioned that therapeutic crisis intervention. Nobody mentioned anything. This is not, I suppose social work and policing are two very different things. But once you get into that level of, we're working with kids who, until you find out what is behind them there and what has happened maybe in those families, well, you can't work with them properly. So that's what I found really eye-opening. I think if I look back now, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, standing in the front of Belfast City Hall, dealing with young children from the care home, from the care system, boy, oh boy, would I do things differently. The city, the shopkeepers, people would have seen those kids as nuisance. You hear it on the news still, and the kids in the care home. If I was there now, 25 years back, I would be treating those kids very, very differently, because I know now I should not be just looking at the veneer of the kids' home. There is something that has put those kids in that street. So I think that had a big part to me going into it as well. Maybe a little bit of giving back. I should have maybe tried better in my previous career, and I'm trying to make the lives better of the kids I do work with now. But
it's like, I was just going to add to that. That's a really good point. But it's not Stevie's fault, because I know for me, because I haven't went through social work training or anything yet. So after coming in through I have actually got on through work into the OU, which is another great thing about the career path and the opportunities that are available within the trust. But see, in the 3 years that I've been doing this, from a complete novice to slightly less of a novice, it has totally changed the way that I see people and the way that I would react to things and the way that I would think about things. So that's a really good point that you're making about, Stevie, about how you would deal with situations as a police officer or anything. But it's the same with anything, like the way that you look at the community, and it helps you better understand. Even when you're looking at, okay, this is maybe a relevant example now, like the show Peelers that's just out at the minute, and you see those people, although I must admit I actually haven't watched it yet, I've just seen a few clips.
Brace yourself.
I haven't been there yet.
You see those people who are in the clips with Stephen Nolan, and people are probably thinking to themselves, you know the way people are, oh, flip's sake, these are complete jobbos or whatever they would say. I now look at that and say, what has that person had to endure throughout their life? What trauma do they hold? It's changed. Just, I know it's quite surface level, but that I'm not going into much detail, but it's changed the way that I look at people and the way that I think about things completely.
So when you came for the job, what you thought is you were going to be changing lives, but what's actually happened is you've been changed too.
Absolutely.
You see, I would say that I see life through a different lens now. Yeah. I used to see bad ones.
Yes.
Up to no good.
Yeah.
I can see a good support worker. I can also see a bad support worker sitting on their phone not paying attention. But you can spot vulnerable people now walking around. You can spot lonely people that really need help. They all suddenly, it was just like a veil being, I can just see all these people in my local town, I think. But I do get to see, in Bangor, and there's Orchardville, and there's lots of other support organisations there. These people all do now. There is things out there, but maybe not 24/7, but it is like seeing life through, like you say, through a different lens. And it just all opens out in front of you.
I think one of the challenges that can happen is once you start to see it, it can feel quite overwhelming. And it can feel like, what are we supposed to do? The need is so great, it's so complex, people's lives are so difficult, and there's the intergenerational stuff. It's that people they didn't come into the world like that. There was something that happened to them, but equally you can see the families where there's these themes have been coming generation to generation, and it can be really overwhelming for people. But one of the things I think social care staff are really good at doing is those everyday little bits of magic. Just in those bits of relationships, those times where you're having a bit of fun, the child runs out of the school and they see you smiling to welcome them, the impact of that for that child to see a grown-up smiling at them for no other reason than they're just running out of school with a smile on their face too. All of those things are really, really powerful, but it's those everyday bits of magic. It's not in the big kind of professional, therapeutic years and years of stuff. It's in those everyday bits of relationship, and that's where the social care workers really bring their bit of magic.
It's interesting, Paul, that there's been so much more focus on early years now. When you from the sublime to whatever, but when you look at the amount of money that somebody like Mackenzie Bezos has put into it, billions we could be doing with it here. The Princess of Wales travelling, finding out about it and underlining the importance of it. Tell us about the way that it works whenever you're looking at the early years and children and young people, when you've got your social care practitioners and social workers and others working together. One of the things that we've heard on a number of these podcasts has been about how one of the changes has been that the other professions are now really starting to listen to what the social care practitioners have to say, because in many instances they're the ones that have the really close relationship, as as we've heard from Stevie and Ewan here as well.
Yeah. I think I'm qualified now 20-something years as a social worker, and 20 odd years ago, it was the Joseph Rowntree Foundation that were making a lot of noise about the need for early intervention. And they've continued to talk about that and that bit about needing to invest to save. And I think that message is quite obvious, but change takes a long time, and for that message to get through and to get through into the systems, it has taken quite a bit of time for that to come through. And then I think with the Ray Jones review I mentioned as well, that really reinforced it. So it is with a new vigour. I think that there is a willingness to undertake some bigger changes now that are about early help and making sure that people get the right support at the right time. And there is an economic argument for that as well. The early help costs less than trying to deal with the crises that are further down the line. In terms of social care workers and their people's willingness to listen, I think any social worker who has worked with social care workers knows that social care workers are worth their weight in gold. A good social care worker will make the change in a family's life. My ethos, and it'll be shared with the people around the table, I'm sure, is that it's relationships that create change. It's not necessarily a specific piece of theory or a specific model of practice. It's relationships that really create the change. And if you get somebody who's invested in another human, who genuinely respects them, genuinely wants them to do well, who will listen to them and advocate for them and help them where they can, that's what creates change. And as I say, I think we have known that for some time, but now we are getting increased investment into social care, into the area of social care. Social care workers are becoming more prevalent within the statutory services, and it's I think the benefits are going to be seen going forward in the future.
You're in the statutory sector in the Southern Health and Social Care Trust. In the 3 years that you've been involved, what sort of change have you seen? Do you find maybe that you're listened to more, or maybe you're just being more useful than you were 3 years ago? I don't know. But what sort of changes do you see?
Well, because obviously 3 years is quite a short time in the grand scheme of things in the trust, where, with any government agency, things can move slowly. Although things are moving. I'm sort of lucky to have been part of teams which really value the input of the social care staff or the assistants and the family time workers, which are in the children and care team. They really value our input, and also, because I've been part of the teams that are like that, it's really benefited my career, and I've been able to learn a lot, whereas in other teams maybe where you're sort of not as well thought of, maybe that would be a bit of a hindrance on you. But yeah, no, I mean, there's changes structurally and in terms of, so, you know, the continued investment, and then there's more opportunities now than to upscale your career than there was whenever I first started.
And are you going to take those?
Well, that's, as I say, I got onto the OU course through work, and there was more spaces, I think, this year.
There's been a continued expansion of the OU programme within the Southern Trust, and again, you know, we would certainly within our learning and development team, we would be really encouraging staff and provide information sessions and a bit of kind of guidance about encouraging people to apply and develop their careers. But I think
it's so beneficial.
And the changes as well, even the fact that NISC now are talking about the care and practice framework, I think that's brilliant. I think that really gives that acknowledgement and validation to the contribution that social care staff are making across services, and the changes around, you know, different job roles coming on, different teams having increased responsibility being given to social care staff, but that's always given on the basis of increased support and training and stuff to them as well. And really seeing people having that opportunity to take those fantastic skills around relationship building and grow them in a more responsible way is lovely to see.
And there's so much training available, which is great because it really obviously broadens your knowledge base, which obviously makes your practice then more effective as well.
It gives you more confidence too.
Yeah. And I've availed quite a lot of it. So I have.
And
I've been glad to be able to.
It broadens your network of people as well. You know, that when we had COVID and we couldn't do the face-to-face training, it was sorely missed. But I know I recognise the value of staff coming together, whether they're social care staff or social work staff, training in on relevant topics together, building those relationships and getting to know what each other are doing, so that they're better able to link in and help each other to help families. You know, so that their families are getting that wraparound support that they need.
Can you tap into all of that as well? Stevie, you're with Positive Futures in Bangor, which isn't part of the kind of government system, to put it like that, but you can tap in and get the kind of any training that you want as well.
I did dip my toe into the trust for a little while and was able to avail of the therapeutic crisis intervention. So that was a 5-day course, which it's intense. So we do something similar in Positive Futures. It's behavioural support. So there's quite a lot of crisis prevention institute. There's quite a lot of places offering the same sort of training, but it's all that core theme of crisis intervention, knowing when it's going to happen, knowing how to manage it, and then knowing what to do afterwards, which is probably the most important thing. How to learn from it, how to get the kids learning from it. So we do have a lot as well. Of course, we're going to have to keep up to date with our mandatory training. But again, like you said, we all learn from each other as well, especially when we're out together as a group. And if I see somebody doing something that really works well with the kids, because this is all brand new to me, I'll be copying it. I'll not be. I'll tell them that I thought that worked, and I'll copy that. But a little bit of a mixture. You're right. The training, especially now, I think everybody does a little bit of LinkedIn training now as well. That's all. And you could make a career of training now, Mandy. You could sit down and just go through training courses to your...
Yeah, I think I might pass on that one.
Yeah, but there's plenty out there, but there's nothing beats just actually, you said, just being with those kids and find out yourself what works. And then when you do find out what works, that's when you go home with a big smile on your face, knowing you've had a good day.
Well, I mean, you obviously have a real passion for what you do, and as does you, and Paul and Shirley as well. But what do you think? Tell me one difference, or more if you want, that social care practitioners like you can make. What really puts a big smile on your face when you're working with kids?
This is one I thought about during the week. What do I give them that they don't get anywhere else? And it all boils down to, in that 2 hours, it's all about them. They get to 100% have everything about them. And no fault through families or schools or anything else, because if you're in a school, you've got assistants in home, there's siblings. But for that 2 hours, you are in, that is with them. One of the little guys just loves anything to do with football. Well, I do not know anything about football for 2 hours. We talk football and we play football. Other kids love doing art, but for that 2 hours, it's all about them. And I know we call that a person-centred approach if we're doing our training, but it's all about, I do hear our social staff and care staff going, well, what about do today? Well, we'll go and have coffee here. And, you know, you're putting a flea in somebody's ear. I don't go down that route. I go, what do you want to do today? What would you like to do? And we give them that opportunity. So for that 2 hours every week, they get to do what they want, uninhibited, do what they want, enjoy themselves. And I know, they know that, you know, as soon as you drop them off on a Tuesday, what are we doing next Tuesday? And I know that we're providing that really, really intense little bit of support in that 2 hours during the week. And a lot of times I'll think of little things that I might help them during the week. A real positive thing happened to me lately was one of the guys has quite a poor memory. And I said, let's make a diary. So, you know, his teacher says, you never tell me what you were doing with Positive Futures. Well, let's make a diary. Let's write down what we did. So you can go in the next day to your teacher and you can tell her what you did with us. She then took that on board. He does a little diary in school now and in turn tells me what he's been doing at school. And that all just develops our relationships, what works, what doesn't work. And yeah, you go home with a fuzzy feeling, don't you? That's all I can call it. That's all I can call it. A fuzzy feeling that you've done something nice today.
What about you, Ewan? What gives you the fuzzy feeling?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's for, you know, in my job role, we would do a lot of family time work in terms of supervising family time and facilitating that for families. And I suppose that's, well, for me, it's probably my favourite aspect of my job for multiple reasons. But I love getting out and about with them and getting a bit of crack, but also just providing that opportunity for the young person who's maybe separated from their parent, and obviously the parent separated from the child, to be able to facilitate that relationship in a positive way, which is so important to the development of the child and also the mental well-being of the parent. So to be able to facilitate that, make sure it's all going well and work with the parent and make sure that they want to be, or they get doing what they want to do with their young person. I mean, that's really, really important, and it's something that I love. I'm glad to be part of teams that really value that sort of work, and also the outreach work, as Stevie was saying about where it's one-to-one with young people. The teams that I've been in really value that as well. So going out, and I would maybe take them out for a couple of hours, as Stevie said, being that trusted adult that they can talk to and have a bit of fun with, and also get away from the situation that maybe, because these young people are maybe enduring things that most adults couldn't even imagine. And the anguish that a young person, maybe 7, 8, or whatever, you know, they've not much life experience, and this is what they've been enduring from birth, or they're in foster care or whatever. Getting to take them out and take them away from that and spend a bit of quality time with them. Of course, provide a bit of crack for myself too, and these young people are great, and they're all full of it, full of the crack. So being able to get that and spend a bit of time with them and be that trusted adult, which in the end of the day, it's going to help them, but it's also helping me because it provides that. Was it the fuzzy feeling you're saying?
That's all the way. The only way I can describe it. And you can't, when you go home, you can't actually describe to your family, because what you've done doesn't actually, if you say it out loud, doesn't actually sound very much. You know, it doesn't. Is that all you did today? You just went out and, well, yeah, it was, but damn, I made a difference today. But it doesn't sound like it if you're to write it down. People probably don't realise either the difference that the staff can make in these young people's lives too, as you're saying. Because I suppose maybe that young person, those 2 hours you're saying, Stevie, that's the only thing they're doing all week that they look forward to and they love doing, and you know that can be such a relief and such an escape from their situation.
It's interesting, and it's terrific to hear from both of you about the buzz that you get, the fuzz that you get from your work with the young people, and to hear as well about just the sheer kind of diversity of different situations in which social care practitioners work. And would I be right, Paul, in thinking increasingly the complexity of what they're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's an interesting question around complexity, and I often wonder, are situations becoming more complex? Or, as you guys talked about earlier, the veil being removed and being able to see more. Are we just more aware of complexity that was maybe always there? Are we able to see it in more detail now and have a better appreciation for how complex some of these situations are and how difficult it can be for families to navigate them?
Well, I have to say, it has been absolutely fascinating hearing from all of you, and the realisation that I now have that social care practitioners who work in children's social care have a real compassion and commitment that is unique, actually. It's also interesting to hear that it is a kind of growing area and that there are increasing opportunities, not just in the area, but also for professional advancement and so on through it. So could I just say really big thanks to Shirley, to Paul, Stevie and to Ewan. If you're interested in what we've been talking about today, and I think you really would have to be, wouldn't you, because it's been fascinating, you will get more details on the Northern Ireland Social Care Council website. There's lots of detail there on all kinds of things, actually, and you don't have to be a social worker or a social care practitioner to be able to tap into them. You'll also find, you'll be delighted to know, all of the previous episodes of Care to Chat, and it's also where the new episodes will drop as well, or you get them wherever you get your podcasts as well. So make sure that you subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Rate us and review us, and tell all your friends, families and colleagues. And thanks very much for listening.